Hilchos Issurei Biah Perek Chamisha Asar. The laws of forbidden relationships, chapter 15. Sunday mornings are always a little bit more noisy in the shul. Thank God. More people come to the daily minyan, so the background noise is a little bigger. So bear with me. We are learning today about the mamzer. Mamzer means literally an illegitimate child. The Rambam is going to define exactly what constitutes a mamzer. There's different levels. There's definite mamzers, doubtful mamzers, rabbinic mamzers, and there are other classifications of children that are similar to mamzer. We're going to define them all. Plus, we're going to define the laws that apply to a mamzer's marriage to the Jewish people. This goes into the category of this halachot because it's relationships that are forbidden from the Torah. So again, we begin with definitions, and later we'll talk about the laws of the marriage. Halacha Aleph, Ezehu mamzer ha'omer b'Torah. What is the meaning of the word mamzer that says in the Torah? This verse on the screen says clearly in the Torah, Lo yavoi mamzer b'kal Hashem. A mamzer should not come into the community of Hashem. Gam dor asiri, lo yavo b'kal Hashem. Even for 10 generations later, which means forever. A mamzer can never marry into the Jewish people. So what constitutes a mamzer? Zeh haba me'erva min ha'arayos. It's a child that's a product of a relationship that a man had with any of the forbidden women biblically. So any of those women who a man is biblically prohibited to marry, if he does marry and they have a child, the child is a mamzer. Chutz min hanida, with the exception of a woman who is a nida, experienced her menstrual flow, didn't go to the mikvah, and you had relations with her. Even though she's an erva, she's called a biblical prohibition, but a child born from a nida, shehaben mimena pogum, ve'enei mamzer. A child born from relationship with a nida is only considered to be blemished, not a full mamzer.
Oh, there is some.
There's a blemish, yeah. There's a blemish level. Practically today, it's not so relevant, and unfortunately, it's pretty rampant. Many Jews who don't keep the laws of family purity are basically with their own wives, constantly having relationship with a nida, and any children born from that union are pagum, they're blemished, but they're not a mamzer. They're not fully illegitimate. Aval habal shadow arayis. But if a man has relations with any other prohibited woman, besides for a nida, bein ba'aynas, bein beratzen, whether forcefully or willfully, bein bezadin, bein bishgaga, whether defiantly or inadvertently, havlad mamzer. The baby born from this union is a mamzer. The basic law of a mamzer is that whether you're male or female, you're forbidden forever to marry into the Jewish community. Shanemar, as it says, gam doir asiri, even the 10th generation, kaleimar la'olam, which means forever. And the prohibition goes both ways. Echad mamzer shenasa Yisraelis, or Yisraeli shenasa mamzeres, whether it's a male mamzer who marries a Jewish woman, or a Jewish man who marries a female mamzeret, kevan shebalu achara kiddushin, if they have the full marriage, consecration kiddushin, and then an actual relation following the kiddushin, laikin, they get lashes. Kiddush v'lei baal einei leika. If he only gives the consecration, let's say a mamzer hands a ring to a Jewish woman, but they never actually get married. Einei leika, no lashes. Baal v'lei kiddush, only relations, no consecration. Einan leikin mishum mamzeros. They also do not get lashes for marrying a mamzer. She'ein lecha b'chol chayav elavin. Because in the entire category of women that are prohibited or men that are prohibited on a negative prohibition, we don't have misha loikal be'ila b'lei kiddushin. We don't have anybody who gets lashes simply for the act of relations without consecration. There are two levels, as we saw in the fourth book of the Rambam many times. There's an erva. Erva is like the high-level, biblically prohibited woman. And there's what's called chayavei lavin, somebody that you cannot marry only because it's a negative prohibition. You don't get actually excision, you don't get karet. So for the karet prohibitions, the higher level ones, even the relations without a consecration already makes you liable for whatever punishments there are. But when you're in the level of somebody prohibited to you only on a negative prohibition, you have to actually go through all the steps. Consecration and a marriage and a relationship in order for you to get malkut. With one exception, Ela kohen gadol ba'almana k'meishi yizbar, a high priest who marries a widow. Torah has an extra expression there which indicates that even if you just have relations, you also get lashes. But other than that, in order to get lashes for violating a negative prohibition, you have to do consecration and the relationship. If somebody remarries his divorcee after she gets married to somebody else, that's a prohibition in the Torah. Havlad kosher. Nevertheless, if they have a child from that union, it's a kosher child. Shaharei eina erva, because she's not biblically prohibited as an erva. It's a separate prohibition. Don't remarry your divorcee.
Any blemish like the one from...
No, totally no blemish. Remarrying a divorcee, Obviously, you shouldn't do it. It's prohibited. But the child is totally kosher. Halacha Gimel. Oivid kechavim umazales ve'eved habal bas Yisrael. What if an idol-worshipping Gentile or a slave marries a Jewish woman? That's also prohibited. But fascinatingly, it's not erva. Erva is only within the Jewish people. So if a Jewish man marries a forbidden non-Jewish woman, now they create a mamzer. But if a non-Jew marries a Jewish woman, havlad kosher. The baby's kosher. Bein pnuya, bein be'eshesish, whether she's married or unmarried, bein ba'ines, bein beratzein, whether she was raped or it was willful, doesn't matter. No mamzer can be created from a union between a non-Jew and a Jew. Oivid kechavim umazales ve'eved. Habayim al hamamzeres. If an idol-worshipping Gentile or a slave had relations with a Jewish woman who was herself a mamzeres, havlad mamzer, then the child is a mamzer. But not because of the union, but because any time a mamzer has a child, the kid is a mamzer. So here the woman is a mamzeret, so her kid's going to be a mamzer.
No, there's no way to get rid of that.
Yeah, there's no way. Well, we'll see. Maybe there is one small way, but there's no real regular way. If it's the opposite, a Jewish man who is a mamzer has relations with a non-Jewish idol-worshipping Gentile woman, havlad oivet kechavim umazalais, and the baby, it's not about kosher or mamzer, it's a goy, because the mom is a non-Jew. So the baby is also a non-Jew. It doesn't matter the fact that the father was a mamzer. It's totally not Jewish. Nisgayer, but watch what happens. If the baby will then convert, harehu kosher kishar gerim, he'll be kosher like another ger. So this is what I was talking about, one of the ways. You don't go initially, of course, and marry a non-Jewish woman. But if the mamzer goes and marries a non-Jewish woman and they have a kid, the kid is a full guy, such that if he converts, he's a kosher Jew. That's a way for a mamzer to kind of get his kid to be a kosher Jew again. Havlad eved. Same thing would be with a maidservant.
What if it's like premeditated?
That's what I'm saying. If factually it would still be okay. Should you do it? He has other big problems for marrying a non-Jewish woman. But the bottom line is that's a mechanism that could work. Havlad eved. Same thing would be for a maidservant. If a mamzer has a relationship with a maidservant, the child is a servant, is a slave. Shichrara, if the master would then free the baby, havlad kosher kishar avadim ma'meshuchrarim. The baby would be a kosher, full-fledged Jew like any other freed slave. Umuter bebas Yisrael, and allowed to marry a Jewish woman. Again, not ideal, because a Jew shouldn't go around marrying a maidservant. But if the mamzer did, and they have a child, and the master frees them, kid is back to being kosher, back on track.
Yesterday your father said like a maidservant is kind of like a half Jew. You do
Yeah.
kind of like a semi-conversion.
Quasi gerus.
Right.
But still, it's not.
That'd probably be like for
That'd be better than marrying a non-Jewish woman.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still bad. You can't do it today.
No. Halacha Dalid summarizes the Rambam Zehaklal. This is the rule. Ben haba min ha'eved, ay min ha'eved kechavim u'mazales, ay min ha'shivcha, ay min bas, ha'evedes kechavim u'mazales. Any child who comes out of a relationship from a slave, or a non-Jewish man, or a maidservant, or a non-Jewish woman, harehu ki'imay. The baby follows the mother. Ve'ein mashgichin ala'av. We don't check the father out at all. Lefi davar zeh, according to this, hitiru lemamzer lisa shivcha. The sages permitted a mamzer to marry a maidservant, k'dei l'tayir esbanav, to purify his children. Shaharehu meshachrer oisam, because the master will free them. The nimtzu b'nei chayrin, and they'll be full-fledged free Jews. V'lo gazur ala shivcha lemamzer, mipnei takanas habanim. The sages never decreed the prohibition of a maidservant to a mamzer simply to be able to fix the children. So the Rambam says actually it's permitted.
That's what we used to do back in the day, I guess.
Yeah. There are rabbis today, he says in the notes, who advise that this practice should be followed by mamzerim. They should meet Gentile women, have them convert as servants, and live with them. That's what he writes here. People actually follow this today. Halacha hey, misha chetze eved v'chetze ben chayrin. Haba alei shesish. If somebody is half slave and half free, he was owned by two partners, one of them freed him, and he marries a married woman, oisei haben ein lo takana. Such a baby born from this union will never be able to be fixed. This baby is going to have two parts to himself. He's going to be half mamzer and half kosher. Therefore, he's forbidden to marry a maidservant, and his children will always be forbidden. Because remember, if a regular slave were to have relations with a married Jewish woman, then what? the kid would be, but since it's a slave, the kid would be kosher. If he would be a fully kosher Jew, marrying a married woman, the kid's a mamzer. Now that he's half slave and half free, the kid is a half mamzer, half kosher. And that cannot be fixed with marrying a maidservant, because only a full mamzer can marry a maidservant, not a half mamzer, half Jew. There's a half of the Jewish in him.
It's almost worse.
It is worse for the kids. Halacha vav. Oived kechavim umazales haba ala shivcha shetavla. An idol-worshipping Gentile marries a maidservant who had done the immersion, to become a half quasi-convert. So full non-Jew has married a Jewish maidservant. Hareza eved, the baby is a slave. You go after the mother. The eved shetava. Shabal eved kechavim umazales, if you had a slave who became a Jewish slave, did the quasi-conversion, and he has relationship with a fully non-Jewish woman, Havlad, Oived, Kechavim, Umazalis, the baby is a non-Jew. Halech Acharaim, again we follow the mother. Aval Oived, Kechavim, Umazalis. Haba'al Shifcha, Oived, Kechavim, Umazalis. But if they're both fully non-Jewish, a fully non-Jewish man has relations with a fully non-Jewish maidservant. Or a servant, a slave, who is non-Jew, has relations with a full-fledged woman who's non-Jewish. Since they're both goyim, we go after the father, as the Rambam said the other day. When it's only goyim involved, the father is the dictator of the lineage of the baby. Halacha zayin. Mamzer muter lisa giyeres, v'chein hamamzeres muteres leger. A mamzer is allowed to marry a convert, a woman convert, and a mamzeres is allowed to marry a male convert. Now, allowed doesn't mean the kids are good. They're still mamzers. V'habanim mishneim mamzerim. The children from both types of relationships will be mamzerim, shahavlad hoylech acharapagum, because babies always follow the worst status in the parents. However, the marriage is allowed. Regularly, a mamzer cannot marry a Jew.
Right.
But this type of convert, this type of Jew, i.e. a convert, he could marry. Shanemar bikal Hashem, look at the verse. He cannot have relations with the community of Hashem. Ukahal geirim einay kari kahal Hashem. The community of converts is not called the community of God. The community of God is a reference to born Jews. Converts are not born Jews, and therefore, while they're fully Jewish, they can marry a mamzer. Halacha ches, giyoides, shanises, leger, v'hilidu ben. A convert marries a convert. Both the man and the woman are converts. They give birth to a child, a son. Afal pisha haydase v'ledase bigdusha, even though he's been conceived and born in a state of holiness, hareza muter b'mamzeres. Such a child can also marry a mamzeret. Not only the converts themselves, but even the sons, if they're both converts of the parents, then they can marry a mamzer. V'chein ben b'nai. Same thing with the grandson and the great grandson of such a union. Ad sheyishtaka shem gerusei mimenu v'lo yivada shehu ger, until the name of conversion sinks away from the family and people forget that they're from a family of converts. The achar kachi aser ben mamzeres. Only then is he forbidden to marry a mamzer. But until it's known that this family comes from a family of converts, those children can continue to marry mamzer women. Again, the kids will still be mamzerim, but the marriage is allowed. When we say converts, converts also refers to freed slaves. It's the same law that applies to all of them. But if not it's a convert with a convert. A convert marries a Jewish woman, or a Jewish man marries a female convert. The baby is a total Jew and forbidden to marry a mamzer, even though one of the parents is a convert. Doesn't work anymore. One of the parents was fully Jewish, so the baby is fully Jewish. Halacha yud. Shloisha mamzerim him. When we talk about mamzers, there are really three categories. Mamzer vadai, umamzer safek, umamzer medivrei seifrim. A definite mamzer, a doubtful mamzer, and a rabbinic mamzer. Eizehu mamzer vadai. What's a certain mamzer, a definite mamzer? Zeshaba min ha'erva havadais, k'meisha beyarnu. It's a baby that's born as a product of a relationship with a definitely forbidden woman. There's no doubt you're forbidden to this woman. She's your aunt, she's your brother's wife, whatever it is. You had the relationship, the kid's a mamzer. Or mamzer safek. What is a doubtful mamzer? Zeshaba misfek erva. It's a child who was born as a product of a union with a woman who we're not sure if she's forbidden to you. Kigoin, haba'al ha'isha, sheniskadsha svei kiddushin, or nisgarsha svei gerushin. You have a woman who received a doubtful ring, a doubtful kiddushin, or received a divorce that we weren't sure if it's a valid divorce. We had in the fourth book of the Rambam. We had in the Rambam's fourth book many cases where you give.
Reform marriage or
No, well,
marriage?
no. I'm saying where you give a kiddushin, but because of the circumstances, it's only marriage out of doubt. You gave kiddushin to two sisters at once. You can't marry any of them, but you don't know which one you're married to. Or a divorce. There are many cases where you give a divorce, and it's a doubt whether it's a good divorce. Some parts were missing, you threw it to her, many cases. So now,
This is legit.
no, if it's a legit ring, then she's fully married.
Pregnant before the marriage.
No, then she's fully married, then it's a problem. But a woman who is in doubt whether she's married or not, so now if you have relations with her, you can always say, well, maybe she wasn't a married woman. So what's the status of the kid?
It's a yellow light, not a red light.
Is it a mamzer or not? And anything like that. Same thing, it would be a mamzer safek. The child born from this union would be a doubtful mamzer. You wouldn't be able to say, well, for sure there's a mamzer, maybe he's not.
But he's going to be probably treated as such.
Huh? Well, we'll see. We'll see the laws, yeah. Midivrei Seifrim, what is considered to be a rabbinic mamzer? It's a very specific case. A woman was married, her husband went on a trip, she heard that he died, so she got married to another guy, and really, the husband's still alive. And then the husband shows up and has relations with her while she's still married to the second guy. Okay? So, the second guy's kids are for sure mamzers. That we already saw in earlier books. Yes. But what if the first guy then again has relations with her before she effectively divorces the second guy? This baby, ben mamzer medivrei seifrim. This son is a rabbinic mamzer. You can't say it's forbidden biblically. Why? It's the real husband and wife. This is his original wife.
Sort of answers that polyandry question. Remember
That you had the other day?
Yeah.
Where there's two men to one woman.
Right.
Yeah.
But this lady and the second man, does it tofes? Does it the kiddushin tofes?
No. The second man, no, yeah, he married a Eshet Ish. He married a married woman. So any kids from there are mamzerim. But the question is, the first guy, if he has relations again, do we say, well, he came back to his original wife? Or no, since the bottom line is she looks married to somebody else, even if she isn't. So the rabbis imposed, the rabbi said, this baby's going to be a rabbinic mamzer.
No bueno.
Halacha Yud Aleph. Pnuya shenisabra miznus. An unmarried woman gets pregnant promiscuously. Amrullah. We see this woman pregnant. We don't know that she's married. Jewish woman. So we ask her, Ma'u ubar hazeh or yilad hazeh? What's this baby? Who did he come from?
You're not married.
Who's the father? Im amra ben kosherhu uli Yisrael nivalti. If she says, look, it's a kosher child. I had relations with a regular Jew. Harizu ne'emenes v'haben kosher. She's believed, and the son is kosher. V'afal pisha reiva irsha zansa b'psulim. Even if most of the people living in her city are disqualified lineage members, we believe her that it was a kosher Jew. But if we never asked the woman, the mother, till she died, or she was mentally imbalanced, she was deaf mute or just mute, or mentally disturbed, or she actually says it was a bad relations. I had relations with this guy and he's a mamzer. Or the nasin we saw the other day, the people that tricked the Jews into thinking that they're just a faraway nation. They converted, and the Jews accepted them, even though they were actually part of the 7 nations who the Jews were supposed to kill. And Yoshua said that they have lesser status in lineage. And David also expanded that decree to even nowadays. So the woman says, it was a nasin, and the baby is going to be no good. Even if the guy that she's saying this was the guy, he agrees. He says, yep, I'm the father. The baby born is only a mamzer out of doubt. We don't believe her for sure. This woman, all we know is she's promiscuous. Same way she was promiscuous with this guy, maybe she was promiscuous with another guy. We don't actually know who the father is. This is called in halacha the shtuki. The word shtuki means quiet, but it's specifically a term to a person who were unaware of his father's identity. He knows who his mother is, but he doesn't know who his father is for sure. Same thing if you have a child found in the marketplace. This is a baby that's called an asufi. He was gathered in. You're unaware of both parents' identity. Who's fake mamzer? We have to assume he's a doubtful mamzer because we don't know who he is. These are lower levels, not full mamzers. We're going to call them from now on shtuki and asufi. Shtuki is a man we don't know who his father is. Asufi is a baby, we don't know who both parents are. And we'll soon see what their laws are. Pnuya Shazinsa, another case. An unmarried woman has promiscuous relationships, the Amra, and she gets pregnant, and she says, Ben Zeh, Ben Pleinihu, this baby that I'm about to have is the son of X. Im Oise Pleini Kosher, if that man is a kosher, full-fledged Jew, Hari Haben Kosher, the baby is a kosher Jew, as we said. However, even though she's believed with regard to his genealogical status, the Eina Ne'emenes Li'eh Zeh B'nai Shel Pleini, she's not believed so much so to make him considered that guy's son fully. For example, for inheritance, for Yibum laws. Other cases where the son plays an integral role in a halacha, while we're going to follow the genealogical issues, we're not going to follow them for any other relationship issues. However, it does seem to me, says the Rambam, we don't fully discount her words, we somewhat believe her. And out of doubt, this son will be forbidden to marry the relatives of that father, because we assume that maybe they are really the father. If that man is a mamzer, she's not believed to establish his genealogical status as a mamzer, as we explained. Eloyes, fake mamzer, is only a doubtful mamzer. That's if the woman is the one who's going to establish the identity. But what if it's from the father's side? We know, we live here, and we see this father and this son. We know that they're father and son. And then one day he wakes up, and the father announced, everyone, you should know, this baby is actually a mamzer. I had him in a forbidden way. So the last thing we know, he's a kosher son of this guy. But now he says he's a mamzer. Ne'eman, the father is believed. But if the son already has children of his own, he's not believed. The Torah only gives the father believability over his own son. Shenemar, as it says, this is an interesting verse in Pashat Ki Teitzei. It says a man marries two women, one he likes and one he hates, and the firstborn comes from the one he hates. So he doesn't want that son to be considered the firstborn. The Torah says, nevertheless, yeah, exactly. Torah says, Ki eshabcher ben asnua yakir. Instead, the father needs to recognize the firstborn, the son of the hated one, and give him the double portion. But the word yakir, not just in Hebrew, it doesn't only mean to recognize, it could also mean to cause to be recognized. This verse basically gives the father power to let us know what his son's status is. Torah says a father can tell us who the kid is. Is he a mamzer, not a mamzer, a good guy, Cohen, Levi, that kind of stuff. But only the son. He must recognize the firstborn, son of the hated one. Yakir means yakirenu, he must make him recognized to others. But after the son, no more believability. Halacha tezayin. The same way a father is believed to say that my son is a firstborn, he's also believed about the status of his son genealogically. The son is a mamzer, son of a divorcee. I was a Cohen, I shouldn't have married her. Son of a woman who did chalitza, I shouldn't have married her. Again, point is, he has the believability. Same thing if his wife was pregnant. We know this man, we know his wife, she's pregnant. The father can say, you should know this fetus is not my son. He's a mamzer, my wife committed adultery. And the baby is a definite mamzer. The father is believed. If a man comes into town and announces about himself that he's a mamzer, he's believed insofar as marrying Jewish. We're not going to let him marry Jewish. But we're not going to allow him to marry a mamzer till we know for sure that he's a mamzer. So we're going to put him in limbo. Any kids that he has will be like him. Can't be here nor there. If he has grandchildren, he's not believed to disqualify his grandchildren, only himself. As we said before, Torah gives you believability over yourself, not over all your descendants. Yud Zayin. A woman is consecrated. She already got the ring, but she gets pregnant while in her father's house. Now, we don't know who it was. It could be it's her husband-to-be, in which case it isn't so bad. Or it could be she committed adultery, which would be really bad. The baby is assumed to be a mamzer. However, this baby cannot marry a mamzer or a regular Jew, because we don't know if it actually is a mamzer or not. If you check the mother, this engaged woman, and she says, it wasn't the best behavior of mine, but me'arusi nisabarti. I became pregnant from my husband-to-be. I'm going to get engaged soon. I'm going to get married soon. But we had relations early. Ne'emenes v'havlad kosher. She's believed, and the baby is kosher. But if the husband-to-be contradicts her words, he denies it, and he says, me'olam leibasi aleha, I never had relations with you. You're fooling around. Harei avlad mamzer, then the baby is a mamzer. Because the father's believed, even if it was his actual son, even if we knew it was his son, he can say it's a mamzer. Certainly now that we don't know that it's his son, he can say it wasn't me. Nevertheless, the wife is not considered to be a prostitute or a zona who cannot marry a Kohen. She can maintain her position and say, you know what? I know he's denying it, but he actually was with me. And I'm not a zona. I wasn't in relations with people that are forbidden to me. And then if she marries a Kohen, they won't have to marry, they won't have to leave the marriage, and the babies will be kosher. So we kind of pull the string on both sides. We'll believe her insofar as her own status, but we'll believe the husband to be insofar as the baby status. Halacha Yudches. A woman is consecrated between kiddushin and full marriage, and there's a rumor going around about her. Im arusa ve'im anashim acherim. And the rumor says that this woman has been fooling around with lots of people, both her husband-to-be and others. Even if we know for sure that the husband-to-be had relations with her in the house of the father-in-law, the baby may be a mamzer. The same way she was promiscuous with her own husband-to-be, perhaps she was promiscuous with others. But if she was checked and said, this baby is from my husband-to-be, then the baby is kosher, as we explained, so long as he's not contradicting, we believe the woman. Yutes. A married woman is pregnant. And she announces to everyone, you should know, this baby is not from my husband. I was adulterous. She's not believed to disqualify the son. The son is considered to be kosher. Torah only gives believability to the father. But if the father corroborates that, and he says, no, it's not my child, or he was away, so he couldn't corroborate or deny, the baby is presumed to be a mamzer, we believe the woman. So that's only if the woman is saying, this married woman is saying, I'm pregnant from another Jew. But what if she says, I'm pregnant by a non-Jew or by a slave, which, as we said in the beginning of the chapter, it's actually okay. If a Jew marries a married woman, then it's an erva and the kid is a mamzer. But if it's a non-Jew who's adulterous, the baby's actually kosher. Harei avlad kosher. So the baby is kosher. Because the husband cannot deny her words. He doesn't know how many people she was promiscuous with. She says it's a guy, it's a guy. We have a rule. Pregnancy is typically 9 months. A baby never will stay in the womb for more than 12 months. It's a maximum pregnancy, even if it's abnormal. And therefore, if a man would have left his home between 9 and 12 months before a child was born, we'll consider that it came from the husband, rather than make it into a mamzer. But if it's more than that, then yeah, there's no possibility that it came from the husband, and it'll be a mamzer. Huh?
1 day count?
Yeah. 1 day would be enough to set it off.
Right.
Halacha chaf. There's a rumor going around about a married woman that she was adulterous under her husband. Everybody is in on this rumor. Everyone's mumbling about it. We do not suspect that her kids are mamzerim. We have a rule that most relations that a woman has is with her husband. And therefore, the baby who was born probably came from the majority, which came from the husband. And it's permitted for a regular Jew to marry the daughter of this woman. But this woman herself, who has this rumor, we do treat her like a regular prostitute. A Kohen shouldn't marry her. A regular Jew should, stay away. If she was super promiscuous, then even for her children, we are going to be worried, and we're not going to let them marry Jews. Chaf Aleph. Let's talk more about the actual laws governing the marriage of a mamzer and similar people. Din Torah, it's biblical law. Shesfek mamzer muter lavi bakahal. A doubtful mamzer can marry a Jewish woman. Shenemar, as it says, Le'yavei mamzer b'kal Hashem. It's the verse that we saw. Let's go back to it over here, the main verse about the mamzer. A mamzer cannot marry into the community of God. Mamzer v'adei asher lava b'kal. V'lei safek. Only a definite mamzer cannot marry, but not a doubt. Aval chachamim asu ma'ila b'yuchsin, but the sages made a stringency in the genealogical laws. V'asru gam asfekas lava b'kal, and they forbade even doubtful people from coming into the community. Lefichach, therefore, mamzeres vadai muter, or mamzer vadai muter lisa mamzeres vadois. A definite mamzer can marry a definite mamzeres. Aval mamzer safek, a shtuki asufi. But a doubtful mamzer, or a shtuki, we don't know who his father is, or an asufi, we don't know who both parents are, Asur Lisa Bas Yisrael cannot marry a Jewish girl. Also, the Asur Lisa Mamzeres, he cannot marry a mamzer. Va'afilu mamzeres misafek asur alai. Even a doubtful mamzer he cannot marry. He's a doubt, she's a doubt. Maybe each of their doubts are resolved differently. Shema echad mehen ene mamzer, v'hasheni mamzer vade. Maybe one of them is really not a mamzer, and the second one is a definite mamzer. Mamzer shall divreihem, muter lisa mamzeres shall divreihem. If they're both rabbinic mamzers, like that case of the woman who was married to one guy, she got married to a second guy, thinking that the first guy is dead. Then he shows up and has relations with her. That kid is a rabbinic mamzer. So if you have a boy and a girl that are born like that, they can marry each other. In general, all the doubts can marry each other. Ketzad, what does that mean? People that we don't know who their fathers are. People we don't know who all their parents are. And doubtful mamzerim, asurim lavei zayin zeh, cannot marry each other. If they got married, they cannot stay in the marriage, they must divorce. And the baby is a doubt like his father. These doubts never can be resolved unless they marry a convert. And the status of their offspring will follow the weaker status. Keita, what does that mean? If a doubtful parental identity child married a convert or a freed slave, or a convert or a freed slave, married a female doubtful status child, the baby will be considered also like a shtuki or a sufi, the doubtful genealogical status. If a baby is discovered, we don't know who the parents are, in a city which has idol-worshipping Gentiles living in it. No matter who the majority was, idol-worshipping Gentiles or Jews, with regards to genealogy, the baby is a doubtful goy. Kidesh Isha, if he marries a woman, if he consecrates a woman, Sricha get misafek, she will require a divorce out of doubt. Maybe he's a full Jew. Misha Hargai, if a Jew will murder him, he will not be murdered for him. You only get killed for murdering another Jew, not for murdering a non-Jew. Since the baby might be a non-Jew, so we can't kill the Jew. He'd bilu based in l'shem gerus aisha taval mishahigyo. If this baby who was discovered later on was put in the mikvah by a court with the intent of conversion, or he himself went to mikvah once he became an adult, then it's like a regular baby that was discovered in a Jewish city, and we treat him like a Jew but in doubt. If most of the city was idol-worshipping Gentiles, this baby can be fed non-kosher food. Only for genealogy is a doubt, but for food we consider him to be a guy. If they're mostly Jews, we are obligated to return his lost object like a regular Jew. If it's half-half in the city, one has to support him like you support a fellow Jew. If avalanche falls on him and you don't know if he's alive or dead, you can remove the avalanche, like in the case of a regular Jew. And with regards to damages, it's like any doubt regarding money. We have a basic principle. If you want to extract money from somebody, you have to bring the proof. So if he damages someone, and you say, hey, he's Jewish, he owes me money, prove that he's Jewish before you get money from him. That's how we're going to treat him with regard to doubt. Same thing if he wants to get money from you. Say, prove that you're a Jew, and I'll give you money. Halacha Chav Zayin. Yerali, it seems to me, says the Rambam. Any province, any area which has a maidservant or a non-Jew who's able to give birth, since a baby that's discovered there will be considered doubtfully a non-Jew or a slave because of this woman, were he to marry a convert, when he gets older, she's only considered married out of doubt. We don't know if he's a full Jew or not. And if somebody were to have relations with her, he'd be exempt. Because we don't kill out of a doubt. You can't say for sure that she's a married woman to a Jew. It seems to me as well, if you have a shtuki, doesn't know who his father is, and he marries a woman who by regular Jewish law would be an erva, fully forbidden, she is only a doubtful married woman. Because as we learned before, consecration doesn't take hold on a woman who's forbidden to you. But maybe she's not forbidden. Maybe we don't know who the father is. Maybe we don't know that they're really not related. It's something like that. So therefore, it's only a doubt. What's a woman who can possibly be forbidden to you? Any woman who was alive, whose father or brother was alive, when her mother became pregnant with her. Because they could be related. They could be the father. And any woman who got divorced or was widowed, maybe this is the wife of the father or of the uncle. In other words, if they might be the father. So their wives could be forbidden to this baby, this son who was born, and we don't know who the father is. Says the Rambam, how do I know? Why don't I say that the shtuki or the asufi, the discovered babies themselves, are not forbidden to every woman who could possibly be forbidden to him? Because when a regular woman is checked and asked about the status of her son, what do we say? We say she's believed, the baby is kosher, and he can marry whoever he wants. He's not forbidden to any woman who could possibly be the erva, possibly be his father's relative. It says in the Torah, this is the last verse for today, do not desecrate your daughter to make her look like a prostitute, which means, as the sages have said, and we saw this a couple days ago, that if a person will do this, let his daughter be free to marry whoever she wants, so much promiscuity will be present in the world that it could end up, fathers will marry their daughters, brothers will marry their sisters, because you'll never know who the father is. But if truthfully the law was that any time you don't know who your father is, you can't marry any woman who could be an erva to you, we would never fill the world with promiscuity. The land wouldn't become full with adultery, because you would always say you're forbidden to anybody who could possibly be your father's relative. From here we learn, we never consider a woman to be related and therefore forbidden to you out of doubt, till you know for sure that she's an erva. Because if you're going to say that you cannot, that automatically it's forbidden, any orphan who doesn't know his father will never be allowed to get married, because they may meet a woman who's forbidden to them. So obviously, out of doubt, we don't assume that everybody is forbidden. Rather, we assume that everybody is permitted till you know otherwise. Halacha lamet. Havlad shahaya mushlach baderech. There's a baby on the street, lying on the street. Uba echad va'amar b'nihu va'ani shlachtiv. And a guy shows up and says, you know what, this is my baby. I threw him away. Neman. He's believed. And we also call child services. V'chein imay ne'emenes. The mother's also believed. She shows up, she says, listen, I threw him away, but I'm taking him back now. Nesaf min hashuk. But if he was already picked up by a stranger, and then the father and mother show up and say, no, this is our baby, we want him back. We don't believe them. Because the name Asufi has already been attached to him. He's already been picked up from the market. But if it's a hunger year, they are believed. Because we say that they threw him away out of desperation. They were so hungry, they didn't have money to feed him. They wanted others to feed him, so they threw him on the street. And once he was picked up, they were quiet till he was gathered in. Now that he's gathered in, they want to confirm that they're the actual parents. If the baby's on the road, and you see that he has a bris, or he was swaddled, or salted. They used to salt the skin to make it smooth. Or there was blue paint attached to his eyes, or an amulet hanging from his neck. Or the baby was found under a thick tree where an animal can't get in, and it was close to the city. Or it was in a shul that's near the public property, public domain, or on the sides of the public domain. In other words, in all these cases, you can see that it was put there with intent. Somebody was taking care of this baby and put it down. Ein kan mishum asufi. There is no status of asufi here. Since they did something to guard them, that they shouldn't die, they put them under a thick tree, they hung a little parchment on their neck, something like that. B'cheskas kosher, he's presumed to be kosher. But if he's just in the middle of the road, or far from the city, even under a tree, or in a shul, far from the city, or he's hanging from in a tree at a place where an animal could reach, then he is an asufi, because obviously the parent put them away with no intent of keeping them safe. A midwife who helped with a birth is believed to say, Zehaben koyenhu a Levi a nasin a mamzer. This son is a Kohen, a Levi, a nasin or a mamzer, disqualified lineage, because the baby has no presumption. We don't know the genealogy. So the midwife who was there could say, I know, this is the status of the son. When do we say this? When she was presumed to be believed. Nobody had ever contested her words. But if even one person protested her words, and he said, B'sheker me'ida, she's lying, testifying falsely, she's not believed, the baby is presumed to be a kosher Jew, but he has no confirmed genealogy status. Davar barar, that Rambam concludes, it's a certain thing, it's very clear. A man and a woman who both don't know who their father is cannot marry each other. Maybe they're siblings. Two babies don't know who their parents are, cannot marry each other because they're out of doubt. But if you have a definite mamzer on one side and a nasin from that nation, the Gibeonites, are both, they have certain status. Mutarim lava, they can marry each other. The havlad mamzer, and the baby will be a mamzer, of course, because you go after the weaker status. But the marriage is allowed. Ushtuki va'asufi mutarim bin yisinim wa b'shara geirim. A person who is unaware of his father's or both parents' identity can marry a nasin and another convert as well. They have lad suffix, but because they have a doubtful status, their baby will also have a doubtful status, because we always go after the weaker status parent.